I never thought I would find myself in this position. My heart raced as I stared at Robert's phone. The screen lit up with a message that felt like a punch to the gut. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Just us, like old times." The words blurred together, but their meaning cut clear and deep. I dropped the phone as if it were a live wire, my mind spinning. Was this really happening? The image of our perfect life shattered in an instant. I had always believed we were happy. Our home was filled with laughter and love, or so I thought. I had taken pride in being the perfect wife. I cooked his favorite meals, celebrated his successes, and supported his dreams. But now I questioned everything. Was I blind to the truth? How could I have missed the signs? My stomach twisted with betrayal, and confusion clouded my thoughts. "Celeste, are you okay?" I heard Robert call from the other room. His voice felt like a knife, cutting through my thoughts. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to smile as I walked into the living room. "Of course, honey, just thinking about dinner," I replied, my voice steady but my heart racing. He didn't need to see my turmoil yet. Not yet. As I sat down at the kitchen table, I felt like I was a puppet on strings, and he was pulling them without a care in the world. I needed a plan. Confronting him now would only lead to chaos. Instead, I decided to take a step back, to observe and gather my thoughts. What did I really want? Revenge? Closure? Or perhaps something deeper, control over my life again? I glanced at the wedding photo on the wall, the two of us smiling, blissfully unaware of the cracks forming beneath the surface. Flashbacks hit me like waves crashing on the shore, reminding me of the moments where I felt like the perfect wife. I remembered planning his surprise birthday party, the way he looked at me when I walked down the aisle, and the little things I thought made our love unique. But now, those memories felt tainted, like a beautiful painting splattered with dark paint. What was I even fighting for? My heart ached as I recalled the moments that had seemed so perfect, now tainted by doubt. Did he ever truly love me? Or was I just a placeholder in his life? I felt a lump in my throat as I tried to push those thoughts away. I had to focus on the future. My future. I stood up, my mind racing. I needed to see what was really going on. The idea of becoming a detective in my own life was absurd, yet it sparked a fire within me. I would not be a victim. I would be proactive. I would uncover the truth, and when I did, I would have the upper hand. The plan began to form in my mind, a delicate web of strategy and stealth. I would watch him, follow him if necessary, and learn what I could. I needed to know the extent of his betrayal. The thought made my heart race, but I felt an odd sense of empowerment. I was not just a wife. I was a woman with a mission. As I prepared for this new chapter, I couldn't help but feel a mix of fear and anticipation. What would I discover? Would the truth bring me peace or push me into a darker place? I didn't know, but one thing was certain. I was ready to face whatever lay ahead. I would not let Robert's betrayal define me. I would take control of my life, one step at a time. As I stood by the window staring out at the street below, I felt a mix of dread and determination. My heart was heavy with betrayal, yet my curiosity pushed me forward. I had decided to follow Robert, to uncover the truth behind the lies. The sun had barely risen, yet I felt the weight of the world pressing down on me. I needed to know, and I needed to see for myself. I grabbed my coat and stepped outside, taking a deep breath to calm my racing heart. I watched as Robert left our house, his usual smile plastered on his face, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I slipped into my car and followed him, my pulse quickening with each turn he took. As we drove, the city blurred past me, but I could only focus on him. I followed him to a quaint cafe downtown. He walked in, and I parked a little further down the street, my heart pounding in my chest. I watched through the window as he sat at a table, talking to a woman. She was pretty, with long hair that fell softly over her shoulders. They leaned in close, laughter spilling from their table like a secret meant only for them. My stomach twisted in knots. I pulled out my phone and snapped a picture. I felt sick, but I needed proof. I whispered to myself, "Why would you do this to me, Robert?" I felt my hands tremble as I continued to watch. Each laugh he shared with her felt like a dagger, each smile cutting deeper into my heart. Days turned into a blur of the same painful routine. I followed him every chance I got, each encounter revealing a new layer of deception. I saw him at restaurants, parks, and even at the grocery store with different women. It was as if he was playing a game, and I was just a pawn in his twisted version of love. Each sighting was a painful reminder of the man I thought I knew. One afternoon, as I sat in my car outside yet another cafe, I noticed two women talking by a nearby bench. They looked upset, and something about their expressions pulled me in. I stepped out, my heart racing, and approached them. "Excuse me," I said softly. "I couldn't help but notice you both look, well, upset. Is everything okay?" They turned to me, surprise flickering in their eyes. One woman with dark curls and tear-streaked cheeks spoke first. "It's just, we've been dealing with a lot. Our boyfriends, they aren't who we thought they were." I felt a connection to them, a shared pain that resonated deep within me. "I know exactly how you feel. I've been following my husband. I think he's cheating on me." The other woman, tall and with fierce blue eyes, nodded. "We've been through the same thing. It's infuriating, isn't it?" We began to share our stories. With each word, I felt the weight of my heart lighten, knowing I wasn't alone. They told me about their experiences with the same man, Robert. My breath caught in my throat as I realized the betrayal extended beyond my marriage. "Wait, you're saying he's seeing other women too?" I asked, feeling the anger bubbling inside me. The dark-haired woman replied, "Yes, he has a pattern. It's not just you." I felt a mix of relief and rage. Why would he do this? What kind of man treats women like this? The blue-eyed woman leaned in closer, her voice low and fierce. "We can't let him get away with it. We need to stand together." In that moment, I knew I had found a bond with these women. Sisters in pain, united by the same betrayal. We exchanged numbers, promising to meet again. As I walked away, I felt a flicker of hope igniting within me. We might have been hurt, but together we could find strength. That night, I lay in bed, my mind racing. I replayed the day's events and the faces of the women I had met. I realized that this wasn't just about Robert anymore. It was about reclaiming my life and fighting back against the shadow he had cast over me. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow across the city, I found myself sitting in a small cafe with the other women who shared my pain. We had agreed to meet here, away from the eyes of our lives, to talk and plan. The air was thick with a mix of determination and grief. I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of camaraderie building among us. "Can you believe we all ended up here?" Sarah, a woman with striking blue eyes and a fierce spirit, asked as she stirred her coffee. "It's like we were all living in the same nightmare." I nodded, my heart heavy yet lighter at the same time. I thought I was the only one. The perfect wife, right? Turns out I was just one of many. Jessica, who had a quiet strength about her, chimed in. "It's not just you, Celeste. We all thought we were living the dream. But the truth is, our husbands were living a lie." Her voice trembled slightly, but she steadied it with a firm look. As we shared our stories, I felt the weight of my own tears. I recounted the moments I had seen Robert with other women, the laughter that echoed in my mind, contrasting with the betrayal that pierced my heart. "It's like I was blind," I admitted, my voice breaking. "I thought I knew him, but I didn't know anything." Sarah reached across the table and squeezed my hand. We are going to find a way to make this right. We can't let them get away with it. A fire ignited in my chest. You're right. We need to take control of this situation. I looked around at the women, each of them nodding in agreement. What do we do? We need evidence, Jessica suggested. We need to gather everything we can about their lies. I felt a surge of determination. Okay, let's do it. We can't just sit back and let them walk away unscathed. We owe it to ourselves. Our conversations turned into plans. We shared tips on how to gather proof without raising suspicion. Sarah had an idea to track Robert's movements using social media. He posts everything. He thinks he's so clever, but we can use that against him, she said, her eyes shining with resolve. I felt invigorated by the possibility of taking action. We can create a timeline. If we can show a pattern, it will help us expose him, I added, feeling the excitement build. Let's meet again tomorrow, Jessica suggested. We can compare notes and decide on our next steps. Together, we are stronger. As we left the cafe, I felt a bond forming among us. We were no longer just victims, we were a sisterhood. Walking together down the street, we laughed freely for the first time in weeks. It was strange, feeling joy amid such pain, but I welcomed it. I never thought I'd find friends in a situation like this, I said, glancing at my new allies. But I'm grateful for each of you. Me too, Sarah replied. We'll get through this together. That night, I lay in bed, my mind racing with thoughts of our plans. I felt a sense of empowerment building within me, a flame igniting in the depths of my being. I was no longer just Celeste, the perfect wife. I was a warrior, ready to reclaim my dignity and the dignity of those around me. The next day, we reconvened, armed with our findings and a shared purpose. As I looked around at the faces of the women who had become my allies, I felt a swell of hope. We were ready to take on the world, to expose the truth and reclaim the lives that had been stolen from us. Together we can do this, I said, my voice steady and strong. Let's show them that we will not be silenced or overlooked. And with that, we began our journey, united by our pain but driven by our strength. We were no longer just victims. We were a force to be reckoned with. As I stood in front of the grand venue, my heart raced with a mix of excitement and dread. Tonight was the night. Robert's big event was finally here, the one he had been planning for months. Everyone we knew would be there, and I, along with my new allies, had made a plan that would change everything. Are you ready? Asked Sarah, one of the women I had come to trust. Her eyes sparkled with determination. She had her own story of betrayal, just like the rest of us. As ready as I'll ever be, I replied, trying to sound confident. Inside, I felt a storm of emotions swirling, anger, sadness, but also a thrilling sense of empowerment. We entered the venue together, side by side, as if we were a force of nature. The lights shone brightly, and the room was filled with laughter and chatter. Robert was already mingling with guests, looking charming in his suit, completely unaware of what was about to unfold. Let's stick to the plan, I whispered to the group as we gathered near the stage. Each of us had our own proof of Robert's betrayals tucked away, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. As Robert took the stage, my heart pounded in my chest. Thank you all for being here tonight, he began, his voice smooth and confident. This event is about love and loyalty. I am so grateful for the support of my wonderful wife, Celeste. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me at the mention of my name. He spoke as if everything was perfect, as if he hadn't shattered my world just weeks earlier. Tonight, I want to celebrate the bonds we share, he continued, the trust that keeps us strong. That was my cue. I looked at the women around me, and we all nodded. One by one, we stood up. I took a deep breath, feeling the power of my voice rising within me. Robert, I called out, my voice steady despite the chaos in my heart. The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to me. He looked startled, his charming smile faltering. "Celeste? What are you doing?" I stepped forward, holding up a photo of him with another woman, a woman I had never met. "You speak of love and loyalty, but what about this?" I held the photo up for everyone to see. Gasps filled the room. My heart raced, but I felt a strange calm wash over me. I was finally taking control of my story. The next woman, Lisa, stood up, her hands shaking with a mix of fear and courage. "And this," she shouted, revealing her own evidence, a text message from Robert. "He lied to all of us!" The shock in Robert's eyes was evident. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words didn't come. "Robert, you think you can play with people's lives?" Sarah yelled, her voice strong. "You are not the man we thought you were." One by one, we revealed our connections to him. The room was thick with tension as more and more evidence surfaced. Each revelation cut deeper into Robert's polished facade, and I could see his confidence crumbling. Finally, I locked eyes with him. It was as if time stopped. In that moment, I felt powerful. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was a warrior standing up for myself and for the other women. Robert's face turned pale, and for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. "You don't understand," he stammered, trying to regain his composure. "This isn't what it looks like." But I simply shook my head. "No, Robert. It's exactly what it looks like." The atmosphere had shifted completely. What was once a celebration had turned into a scene of shock and disbelief. I felt a mixture of triumph and relief wash over me. I had done it. As the crowd started to murmur, I realized that I had finally found my voice. I felt a sense of freedom I had never experienced before. I was ready to reclaim my life, and it started right here, right now. With each revelation, I felt the weight of Robert's betrayal lift off my shoulders. I was no longer bound by his lies. This was my moment, and I was ready to embrace the future, whatever it might hold. In the days that followed the revelation, I found myself in a strange place. The weight of Robert's betrayal hung heavy in the air, but instead of feeling crushed, I felt light. I sat in my living room, surrounded by the remnants of what once was. The pictures on the walls, once symbols of my perfect life, now felt like a fading dream. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. "This does not define me," I whispered to myself. It was a mantra I needed to repeat. I had spent so long being the perfect wife, but now I realized I could be so much more. I smiled, thinking of the women I had met. They had become my allies, my sisters in this fight. Later that week, we gathered at a cozy cafe, a safe space away from the judgmental eyes of the world. As I walked in, I could see the warmth radiating from the group. "Celeste," one of them called out, waving me over. It was Jenna, her smile brightening the room. "Hey, Jenna," I replied, feeling a rush of happiness. I took a seat among them. Each woman had a story, and together we formed a tapestry of resilience and strength. "We should celebrate our victory," Lisa suggested, her eyes shining with excitement. "We've taken back our power." "Yes, let's toast to new beginnings," I added, feeling a surge of enthusiasm. The thought of celebrating brought a sense of joy I hadn't felt in a long time. As we raised our glasses, I felt a wave of empowerment wash over me. We weren't just victims, we were warriors. "To us," I declared, and the group echoed, "To us." After the toast, we shared our plans for the future. One by one, we talked about how we wanted to move forward. Jenna spoke first. "I want to start a blog to share my story. I think it could help other women who feel alone." "That's a great idea," I said, feeling inspired. "Your voice matters, and it needs to be heard." "I want to create a support group," Lisa chimed in. "We can meet regularly to help each other heal. We can be there for women who are going through what we did." I nodded in agreement. We need to show them they are not alone. Together, we can create a community where we lift each other up. As the conversation flowed, I realized how much we had transformed. The pain that once defined us was now our strength. I looked around the table, seeing empowered women who had faced betrayal and come out stronger. "Do you remember how scared we all were at first?" Jenna asked, her voice softening. "Yes," I replied, "but look at us now. We've found our voices." "I used to think I was weak," Lisa said, her eyes shimmering with determination. "But now, I know I'm strong. We all are." The discussions continued late into the evening. We shared laughter and tears, but most importantly, we shared hope. I felt a deep connection with these women. They understood my pain, and I understood theirs. As the night came to a close, I stood up, a sense of pride swelling within me. "I want to thank you all for being here. You have shown me what true strength looks like. Together, we will support each other and help others heal." "Together," they echoed, and I felt a surge of unity among us. Driving home that night, I reflected on everything that had happened. Robert's betrayal had been a catalyst for change, pushing me to discover who I truly was. I no longer wanted to be defined by someone else's actions. As I parked my car, I looked up at the stars shining brightly in the sky. Each one felt like a reminder that I was not alone. I had the strength within me, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next. I whispered into the night, "I am free." With every step I took towards my front door, I felt lighter, more empowered, and ready to support others on their journeys. I realized that true strength comes from within, and I was determined to help others find theirs as well. As I stood at the edge of my new reality, I felt a mix of hope and determination. The betrayal that once threatened to drown me had become a catalyst for my growth. I had spent weeks surrounded by the other women, sharing our stories, our pain, and ultimately, our strength. Together, we formed a support network that felt like family. It was a bond forged in fire, and it was time to use that strength to help others. "Celeste, are you ready for the meeting tonight?" Sarah asked as she adjusted her jacket. She was one of the women who had become my closest ally. Her spirit was fierce, and her laughter could light up the darkest days. I smiled at her, feeling a rush of excitement. "Absolutely! I can't wait to share what we've planned." The idea to create a support group for women like us had come naturally. We wanted to provide a safe space for those who felt lost, just as we once did. It was our way of turning pain into purpose. As we walked to the community center, I thought about how far I had come. I was no longer the woman defined by her husband's choices. I was Celeste, strong and independent. When we arrived, women filled the room, each face telling a story of struggle and survival. I felt a rush of emotion. I stood up, my heart pounding, and faced the crowd. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I began, my voice steady. "We have all faced betrayal, but we are not alone. Together, we can heal and reclaim our lives." The room filled with supportive murmurs. I could see the hope flickering in the eyes of the women before me. I continued, "Our experiences may be different, but our strength is the same. Let's share our stories, support each other, and help one another rise." As the night unfolded, women took turns sharing their experiences. Some spoke of heartache, while others shared tales of resilience. I listened, feeling a deep connection to each story. "I thought I was alone," one woman said, her voice trembling. "But hearing you all makes me realize I'm not." Another chimed in, "I feel stronger just being here. It's like we're a team now." Their words resonated with me. This was what I had wanted, a community where we could lift each other up. As I looked around the room, I saw not just victims, but warriors ready to reclaim their lives. Later that evening, we gathered in a circle, and I proposed an idea. What if we create a monthly workshop? We can invite speakers, share resources, and even have activities that promote healing. The room buzzed with excitement. "That sounds amazing!" Sarah exclaimed, her eyes shining. As we discussed the details, I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me. This was my new purpose, my new dawn. I was no longer just Celeste, the betrayed wife. I was a leader, a voice for those who had been silenced. As the night came to an end, I stepped outside, taking a deep breath of the cool night air. I felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I looked up at the stars twinkling in the sky, and for the first time in a long while, I felt truly free. "Hey, Celeste," Sarah called, catching up to me. "You were incredible tonight. You really inspired everyone." I turned to her, a smile spreading across my face. "I couldn't have done it without you all. It's our strength that makes this possible. Let's keep this going. We're just getting started," she replied, her enthusiasm infectious. As we walked home, I reflected on how this journey had changed me. I had learned valuable lessons about love, trust, and most importantly, self-worth. I was ready to embrace whatever came next, empowered by the love I had found for myself and the sisterhood I had built. Looking towards the horizon, I felt a surge of optimism. No matter what challenges lay ahead, I knew I had the strength to face them, and I was not alone. I had my newfound family of strong women beside me, ready to take on the world together. Share this story if you believe that together we can rise above betrayal and find strength in community. Leave a comment about a time when support from others helped you overcome a challenge, and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one.